morning. Good morning. This is Constance on the Rema Gospel Express, and we have some special visitors in today. Uh, Elder Lockhart, why don't you tell us who we have here with us today?
Yes, right here in the studio with us we have my son, all the way from Tulsa, Oklahoma. They're doing a little something that's affecting the community of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and my son, his name is James Lockhart Jr. Yes, that's right. Glad to have you with me today. But listen, you're doing something that's awesome, and share us a little bit about what you're doing in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and what you've started.
All right. Well, it started off with it's such a small thing, and even today I would consider it a small thing, but it's definitely having a big impact on the community, in the local area, and I definitely see something like this spreading in other areas like San Antonio or in even bigger communities. But it was just I feel like it was a seed planted by God Himself that the idea came, and I'll get into what the idea is, but the idea came to me, and it was basically, what the most I can do for God with the least that I have, and so I figured right now the position now I moved to Oklahoma to go to college, and there was nothing to do for Christians, there as far as on a Friday, Saturday night, particularly outside of like church events. So I was like, well, Christians don't have a place to like go to hang out without spending money. So let's get something going. So I ended up meeting with a friend of mine's mom who runs a missions organization called Christ for Humanities. And so she was already pushing something. So I went and started helping her with what she was doing. And she, together, we created this thing called Christ Coffee House. And it's a venue. It's like an open mic venue where people can go to and just kick back, relax, and enjoy an open mic. People with talent, artists, rappers, spoken word artists, people with any kind of talent, dance. They can do their ministry, and it's a pretty relaxed setting. But open mic's not the only thing we do. Before open mic, we typically have an open discussion about current events and what's going on. And also we have games where we can fellowship. Like we have a time where we can fellowship and play games and hang out.
Well, share with us when you say open mic, what does all of that include?
Open mic is it's just music. It's open mic anything. Like if you have a form of expression, you can express yourself, and it's available for anyone to get up in a mic and start sharing what they have on their mind, prayer requests.
Just be open.
Yeah, just from the heart, just from the heart. So,
okay. Well, what changes have you seen take place in the lives of ones that have come in?
Well, like the idea was actually, again, from the beginning stemmed from, it wasn't there for young Christians, right? But I also saw something else. So I'm glad you asked me that. I saw that there was a church on every corner in Tulsa, but none of their churches really interact with each other. And I knew that was something that was going to be big, that, all these different the youth from different churches will be able to meet in one location and know each other. And that obviously opens up interaction with all the different churches. That I found that, after that, they started going to each other's church. Some people who didn't have a church will go to, churches. Now a lot of networking, especially within the artists, they help each other out. They fill voids that others don't, that they don't have. And it's a lot of sharing going on. So that was really big for the ministry. It's just somewhere so we don't have to be obligated to perform or look good. All this competition going on in church these days. The youth is really getting away from the whole idea of what we think is supposed to be church, and they're begging for something else and something new and something relevant that speaks to our generation.
Now, the amazing part that I love about this, from what time to what time does it start?
Well, 8 o'clock is the time we have it starting, and it ends at midnight.
Okay. And now you was just saying that youth are looking for something more than just what we call today going to church, but yet they're still reaching out to God.
That's right. They're reaching out to God, and they're looking for something. So that's another thing. People who may not know God are looking for something, and people who do know God
Are looking for more.
is looking for Him. They know Him, but they're looking for Him. They're looking for who He is to them, and what He means in their life. I think in some ways we all are. And so at that age, in college, I think that's where it's needed the most, honestly, because that's where people are trying to figure out their path in life. In high school, it's pretty straight and narrow. It's pretty cookie cutter. You do this, you get that. You do this, you do that, you get this. But in college is an exploration stage in people's lives, and a lot of people don't have anything outside of going to your bars or home clubs, and and I know churches are trying to mimic what the secular world is doing. Why don't we just be original? We just need things that are just original. So hopefully San Antonio can. I don't know if there already is anything here, but
They're doing similar things, just like what you're talking about, to capture the minds of the young people. But when I'm listening to you, and what I hear you saying is that times are changing.
That's right.
Times are taking effects. I mean, you that are the older generation. If you look back in your life, you can find out that we used to wear dashikis. We used to wear afros. Times have changed.
Right.
Clothes have changed. Well, young people, their mindsets are not like a lot of us. That's old.
Right.
That's that old folky way.
Right.
But where do you see yourself going? We have a few more minutes. Where do you see yourself going?
Well, I think it's not necessarily about me, and that's the biggest approach I've had to this whole thing. It's about what God wants, and as soon as I helped start getting this going, I knew that regardless of if I would continue this, what's happening here, God will take it on. It's just one of those things where it has to go. It's one of those things that God has to take this and go somewhere else with it, regardless of who I am or whoever's in charge of or whatever's doing, because people are going to collaborate and get together in fellowship. And then it's just going to grow from there.
So you just lit the torch.
That's all I did. That's all you need to do when
and
you do
passing
something
the
from God.
torch.
That's right. You don't need to, And like I said, like church as usual is different now. Church as usual is not it's not church anymore. It's different now. It's something else. It's evolving. It's changing. And obviously, I think if you haven't realized that by now, then you're behind.
Okay. San Antonio and global listeners, you've been talking to my son who's come in from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and just letting us know what is before us, what is happening. Times are changing. He's already mentioned churches have begun to do what the secular world to draw people in to the church. And let's go back to the basics. Well, thank you for your time, JD.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
91.7 HD2 KROV, and I'm turning it back over to the lady of the house. We're talking about none other than Constance.
Did I do all right?